You guys, I am so excited to finally be able to share a recipe from my brand new cookbook with you today, and that's this lemony lentil and chickpea soup. If you've made my very best lentil soup recipe on my website, which has been a reader favorite for years, you are absolutely gonna love this new version of lentil soup, which trades the tomato base for a very bright and uplifting lemony one. Lentil soups are my favorite as they're hearty, nourishing, and full meal kind of soups rather than side soups, and this recipe is a perfect example of the kind of meal that you're gonna find in the vegetarian chapter of my cookbook. Yes, I have an entire chapter dedicated to vegetarian mains. So let's dive into today's recipe, and along the way, I'll give you a few more sneak peeks of my cookbook, which I cannot wait for you to have in your own hands. This lemony lentil and chickpea soup is on page 213 of my cookbook, and as I'm flipping through, you can get a glimpse of some of the other recipes. There are so many photos in this cookbook because it was a requirement of mine that every single recipe had a photo. I'm such a visual person, and based on your feedback, I think you guys are too. I should also add that all recipes have both imperial and metric measurements because I know this community of downshifters spans far and wide across the globe. And every recipe also has storage and reheating instructions because it is a meal prep cookbook after all, and there's helpful tips and nutrition. So to get started with this recipe, you'll need to dice one medium yellow onion. And while I'm dicing that up, I have a question for you guys. I've been thinking of switching up how I film videos for next year. Right now, I film all of the cooking and then add voiceovers afterwards. It's a really lengthy process to make videos this way, but it does make for a clean and easy to understand video. I've been debating filming where I cook and talk at the same time, sort of how I did on my recent cookbook live stream, which I'll link in the description box below. That method is a bit more raw and chatty and unpolished, but because I talk and cook at the same time, it does make for easier editing. Anyway, just wanted to get your thoughts on if you have a preference in terms of video style, so if you do, let me know in the comments below. After the onion is diced up, add that to a bowl and then dice up 2 ribs of celery. You can add the celery to the same bowl on top of the onion. Now, I don't think any soup is complete without garlic, one of my favorite ingredients, and you'll need 3 garlic cloves for this recipe, so just peel them and set them aside for now. There are 2 herbs used in this recipe, thyme and oregano, which gives the soup a bit of a Mediterranean flair, especially with the lemon flavor. You'll need 2 tablespoons of roughly chopped fresh thyme, but if you don't have fresh, you can add about 2 teaspoons of dried thyme. You probably saw in the recipe photo at the beginning, there's lots of green in this soup, and that's thanks to 2 packed cups of baby spinach. If you don't have spinach, you could also use kale, chard, or another leafy green. And then just roughly chop that up so it's a bit more bite-sized. The predominant flavor in this soup is a bright lemony one, so zest and juice 1 large lemon. You should get about 1 tablespoon of zest and 3 tablespoons of juice. And as I always say, there's just no comparison between fresh lemon juice and jarred lemon juice, so do make sure to use fresh lemon here. All right, let's chat lentils. The lentils I'm using in this particular soup are red lentils. Red lentils, unlike green, brown, or black lentils, naturally break down into a really soft texture after boiling, which means no blending is necessary for this soup. And that's always a bonus, isn't it? You'll need 1½ cups of red lentils, and just make sure to give those a rinse and pick them over to make sure there's no debris or shriveled lentils. And I should have definitely used a larger fine mesh sieve for doing this to make things easier. Okay, all the prep work is done, so let's make this lentil soup. Add 2 tablespoons of olive oil to a large pot over medium heat. Add the onion and celery and saute these for about 4 to 5 minutes or until the onion becomes translucent. Then add the garlic by mincing it straight into the pot, and somehow I managed to not film that part, but saute the garlic for another minute or so. Add the lentils, 6 cups of low sodium vegetable broth, 1 15½ ounce can of chickpeas that you've drained and rinsed, the roughly chopped fresh thyme, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, and ½ teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. Then bring that to a simmer. Once it's simmering, cover the pot and cook the soup for about 15 minutes, making sure to stir it occasionally in the process. After the 15 minutes is up, add the chopped spinach and stir that for another 5 to 8 minutes or so until the spinach is lightly wilted and the lentils are softened and starting to break apart. Remove the lentil soup from the heat, and to give it that final punch of lemon flavor, add the freshly squeezed lemon juice and lemon zest, and then stir that all together. Trust me when I say that your entire family is going to love this lemony lentil and chickpea soup. And you can see when I take a big scoop that the lentils are really soft and broken down, which again means you don't have to transfer any soup to a blender or get in there with your immersion blender. It's just naturally the perfect balance of chunky and soft textures, which makes this soup feel hearty, but also light and fresh. If you watched last week's video for black bean soup and have been following my daily stories on social media, you know I've really been on a soup kick this year. They're just so darn good for meal prep, and this recipe will stay good in an airtight container in the fridge for 4 to 5 days, or in the freezer for up to 3 months. And to reheat it, all you have to do is thaw it in the fridge overnight if it's been frozen, then microwave it for 1 to 2 minutes, or cook it on the stove until it's warmed through. But as these lemony, thyme, and oregano flavors are wafting through my kitchen, I'm of course going to serve myself a portion of this soup. And if you want to make it a smidge fancier before serving, you can always top it with more fresh thyme and a sprinkle of freshly ground black pepper. If you haven't ordered my cookbook yet, I've got a link for it below in the description box. And if you pre-order before December 6th, which is the published date, you'll get 5 recipes right now, this very moment, before the book even comes out, including 2 recipes that don't appear in the book or on my website or on my YouTube channel. They're only available to those who pre-order. So make sure to pre-order, again, before December 6th. Thank you guys so much for all of your love and support on this cookbook. It really does mean the world to me. You guys are seriously the best, and I can't wait for you all to have it in your hands in just a few more weeks. And with that, I'm going to go back to enjoying my lemony lentil and chickpea soup, and I will see you again in the next video.